going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Fett here, with a little bit different Orioles update today. I have to say, I haven't done one because the Phillies series only lasted a game. We lost the other one, and then the Red Sox took 2 out of 3 from us, and we got a little bit of a break. I'll do a recap of that and the White Sox series after the 4-game stand, but I want to talk about today basically a little rant between the AL East, a little bit of history lesson, and why, as an Orioles fan, it sounds like I'm ready to jump off the bridge on being a fan. So basically, let me get into this a little in-depth. Let me know in the comment section if you like this type of showing or if this is too far in. I want to break down first the AL East, okay? In 1969, okay, the American League it had 2 divisions, 12 teams. You had 6 West Coast teams, and you had 6 East Coast teams, okay? In the AL East, all right, since that, it has been 3 teams that have stayed true to the AL East division, which is the Bronx Bombers, the New York Yankees, SkiveWalkers, BFFs, the Boston Red Sox, who the whole division hates, and the Baltimore Orioles. Those 3 teams have stayed intact since the beginning in '69. Basically, you have your core AL East teams, all right? Also, back in '69, we had the Tigers and Indians in the division, okay? With the MLB expansion in '71, the Milwaukee Brewers came over to us the next season in the AL East. As well as in '77, we had the Toronto Blue Jays get added to the division. And then in '92, the Brewers and the Indians left the AL East. I believe that's when the Brewers made their transition to the NL, and the Cleveland Indians transformed into the AL Central. Now, obviously, with more teams joining Major League Baseball along the timeline. And then in '97, the Detroit Tigers officially joined the AL Central. Okay, so basically your 3 core teams of the AL East since '69 has been the O's, the Yanks, and the Red Sox. Tigers and Indians both leave and join the AL Central. Fun fact here for all you Indians fans that listen to my show, I mean this in the most sincere, unflattering way. From '69 to 1992, the Cleveland Indians did not win a pennant or win the division title. So that was a pretty dry streak before you guys went to the AL East. And then since then, you guys have been in pure domination, which, I'm not mad about. I don't mind the Tribe. I'd say I probably consider them my favorite AL Central team. They're local talent. I don't mind them. I respect. And I think Chief Wahoo should stay. But it just goes to show all the changes in Major League Baseball, how hard the AL East has been. At least for Oriole fans older than myself, because like I said, I'm 27 now, about to be 28 in December, and that's brought me a lot of stress, even as a child, as I'm about to relate to you guys. So after explaining the AL East division history and breaking it down for you guys, you'll notice that we didn't get anybody else until '97 when the Tampa Bay Devil Rays joined us. And then we became what we are now as the AL East, which is now the Blue Jays, the Rays, the Sox, the Yanks, and the Birds. That's how it is now. So in regards to that, I just want to say to Major League Baseball, thank you for sticking to, I guess I want to say, a geographical structure, at least in the AL East, but doesn't mean that I wanted it because we've been completely dominated since we came here from being the St. Louis Browns, and then Major League Baseball restructured the AL and NL, of course the divisions into it. So anyways, I've been an Orioles fan all my life, okay, so I'm 27 years old. Basically, I consider myself a fan even when I was in the womb, even though people say that's weird. No, you didn't know. Well, yes, I did. I was born in Baltimore. My mom carried me those months in Baltimore, and one of the huge reasons I am an Orioles fan is I remember being a young child sitting on my grandfather's lap, great-grandfather, granddad, is what I called him, and he lived in the west side of Baltimore on the outskirts of Randallstown. Downtown, if you want to call it the hood, I guess you could call it the hood, but he was an 80-something-year-old man who still had his license, and every day he would sit on his back porch and he would listen to the Baltimore Orioles on the radio when they played. And he had a seat cushion, he had a bunch of memorabilia, old school baseball stuff. I mean, it was just awesome. And he really is the reason why I gravitated so hard to the Orioles. Even when my dad got custody of me and I moved to Pittsburgh, where my dad's family is all Pirates fans, including my father. And then even when we moved out here to Ohio, I've always pulled for the local Indians here and there when they're not playing the Orioles or the Orioles are out of contention. Especially if they play the Yankees or Red Sox, I will always root for the Indians in those matchups. But basically, this is what I have over the course of my Orioles fan life. From 1990 to 2017, because I am going to include the 1990 season, which we're not very good, okay? That means I haven't seen all of them, but as long as I've been alive, the Orioles have had 8 winning seasons, 1 .500 season, and 19 losing seasons. People are going to say, oh, that's 28 years. Oh, yes, like I said, I included 1990, despite not seeing the season. Just to go over that, by contrast, Yankees have 27 world championships. So they have as many rings as I've been alive on this planet, and that's sickening. And their franchise, how many have they lost? I'm sure the Yankees could be flirting with 30, 35 total rings had it not been for some miracle saves by the NL. Just to give you a quick rundown, that means I have seen 5 playoff series in my lifetime for the Orioles. They lost in the wild card game against the Blue Jays, bottom of the 11th. Bummo Ubaldo gives up a moonblast to Edward Encarnacion. Still never understood why Buck never went with Zach Britton in the 11th. He said he was fine, there was no problems, but he put Ubaldo in there, and EE took him deep for a 3-run blast, walk-off homer to win that wild card series. Which, in retrospect, the Orioles weren't going to win it that year, 2016, so whatever. But still, you don't want to lose to someone in your division, especially the same game. Joey Bats hits a freaking home run, does a bat flip. You know what I mean? Like, I could do without that crap in my life. They have also lost in the AL Championship Series 3 times. 3 times they have lost. I believe 96 was to the New York Yankees, 97 was to the Cleveland Indians, and 2014 to the Kansas City Royals. They swept us. That's really the only joy I've had as an Orioles fan was that 2014 season. That's really when, actually it was 2013, the year before that, they had a winning season. It brought me back into the baseball light, because for a while, like I said, they had a period from when I was 8 years old. Actually, I was 7. 98 through 2011, they had 13 losing seasons in a row. As a fan, I'm sure if you're a Browns fan, you can maybe relate, but on a baseball level, I'm not so sure unless you're a Cubs fan with that dry spell from your last World Series win, or the Red Sox curse of the Bambino all those years, but 13 losing seasons is a lot to deal with. So, and then they have a first-round loss mixed in there too, early 90s. So basically, if you chalk that up, they've had 5 winning seasons, but 3 of those winning seasons they missed the playoffs, 92, 93, and 2013. Like I said, that was the year I really came back into being a big Orioles fan and decided, hey, that's my team, and finally showing signs of improvement. Who would have known it only would have lasted 3 years? it's just one of those things you get used to. So basically, if we want to talk AL pennants, like I said, I just gave you a synopsis of the AL East. The Yankees have leading 18 AL East pennants, and the Red Sox and the Orioles are tied at 9. The Jays have 6, and the D-Rays only have 2. To go down a little more briefer into our history, we do have 3 World Series titles, 67, 70, and 83. We also have 3 losses in 69, 71, and 79. So, I mean, there was a period from 67 through 71 where, we were going the distance, we were going to the playoffs, going to the World Series constantly. Brooks Robinson's huge during that time at third base. But it just goes to show you how far the team has fallen in recent. They used to play at Memorial Stadium back in the day. Camden Yards was built in the 90s. So, it's not the facilities. We have a nice facility. If you've ever been to Camden Yards, it is a beautiful ballpark. There's not an unsafe atmosphere there. You don't got to worry about getting beat up in the parking lot or even in the stands. Because Orioles fans know how bad their team has been in the past. When we actually get a winner, it's surprising. And this year would have been no different had we strung together a couple W's earlier in the year. But as we fade faster and faster, Duquette said we needed to wait until Memorial Day. Well, I don't really know what he's smoking, but it would appear that Memorial Day is too late for us to start this whole rebuilding process because there are pieces out there that need to be shipped. Now, I've been up and down about the Manny Machado being traded for prospects. Honestly, my heart, I want him to stay. I want to give him $250 million. But I know the ownership and the management teams aren't going to shell that much money out for this guy, even though he's worth it. He's totally worth it. You're seeing him explode this first quarter of the year. He's got great numbers. He's the only constant hitter that the Orioles have. Right now, I think he's currently tied with 15 home runs, leading the majors. So, I mean, and he's back to shortstop, so he's still shaking rust off there at the shortstop position. I think he's going to be great wherever he goes if he leaves Baltimore, but he's one of those guys I've watched grow his entire Oriole career since I fell back into it. He's been the guy I've gravitated towards because he has been our best player. I mean, no disrespect to Adam Jones. Adam Jones is great. Zach Britton's a great closer. But, we just haven't had that superstar caliber player since Cal Ripken. And, Cal retired late 90s, so, we went through almost a decade and a half of soul searching for our next guy, and here he is, and now he's fully grown, and he is the player he is today because he played through our farm system. He came up through the ranks. We started him early. He's been lucky enough not to hit injuries. Just completely terrifying world we live in to where, as an Orioles fan, you look to the future, and it doesn't look so bright. Don't get me wrong, I like Cisco, I like Mancini, Bundy, and Gaz, you know what I mean? But all those guys together would be so much better with Manny Machado in town. And I think we're going to see a huge drop-off. I mean, right now they're not selling out either. So, I mean, even with Manny Machado, so I can't really bank on the crowds, but the team is what you want to call, from my eyes, in shambles. Not a lot of fan support. Salary cap is jacked up. Like I say all the time, we're paying Chris Davis $23 million to essentially strike out. And some of his salary, could be used to keep Manny Machado here. And I think it's highly unlikely that he restructures and saves us some capital to keep Manny Machado. So I did this podcast. I got to say, I had enough last night. I'm watching the White Sox game. We had to lead 2-0. And Buck does two things that really grinded my gears. I normally am not mad at Buck. I'm not mad at his decisions. I'm not mad at what he's doing with the team in terms of a management standpoint. But last night, okay, number one, you brought Michael Givens in even though he pitched the previous night. Most people say, oh, it's not a bad idea, whatever. He's still fresh. Well, he wasn't. He was just kind of throwing the ball over the plate, and he wasn't really accurate, and he left one over the plate for a White Sox hitter to just crush. Now, it's not all Michael Givens' fault, okay? Because Gaz exited. He did give up a single before he left. But Givens came in and pretty much got guys on the bags, and all of a sudden, it's 2-1. It's 2-2. And the second thing is, I don't understand why. I know Mark Trumbo went 4 for 4 last night, but he is a defensive liability in right field. Any close game, I don't care about who replaces him, even if it's Gentry or Joey Ricard or anybody for that matter. I'm not worried about the batting aspect when I have a 2-0 lead. Okay. Those two decisions last night by Buck just blew my mind. I don't know why he didn't bring Bleer in earlier than he did, because that's who replaced Givens. Like I said, he gave up a sac fly RBI, and then they got the winning run home off him. So, of course, the bats come up. Chris Davis walks, and then I think Pedro struck out. And then we pinch ran for Joey Ricard comes in the pinch run because we got a single, just a little blooper. Who was that? I forget who it was. I was so frustrated at this point. We were already losing, and then we lost because the bats at the end, they didn't give us enough of the magic, the Oriole magic that we all talk about and love. But we lost the game to the White Sox, who are one of the worst teams in the AL Central. They're rebuilding. They got great young prospects, great young arms, a lot of talent in the farm system. But we blew a 2-0 lead. And we got out hit by them. I think we had maybe 5 or 6 hits to their 12. We're not going to win these. We have the worst record now in baseball in 2-run games. I think they said something like we're 3-22. We officially, with the loss to the White Sox, passed the D-rays for teams that have lost 1 to 2 run games. And that's unacceptable. So basically I started digging, was curious about how the AL East was set up. And, basically, once I found out how the AL East was set up, I crunched some numbers, checked some stats against how old I was and how long I've been watching. Because, I do remember being a kid and watching the Orioles play the Indians in 97. Albert Bell, Roberto Alomar, playing against Sandy Alomar, Omar, Jim Thome. That Indians team was great. There's no doubt they should have beat, I believe that's the Marlins here. Should have beat the Marlins. So, basically, I just needed to get this ran out, throw some stats and some facts and some history in there to make myself feel better because it's not looking good for us. And, after dealing with a 13-year losing streak where we didn't even sniff 500 those years, we were just bad. And I'm at the point now where I feel like another dry spell is going to come on if we lose Manny. Manny Machado, I believe, is the franchise's last breath and having a superstar player. Otherwise, I consider us just a farm team for the Yankees and the Red Sox to beat up on, which we have been through the course of our history, despite 6 World Series appearances, 3 World Series titles. We're just not there as a franchise when you look at the rest of the AL East, and I can't even blame it all on cap space because it's mismanagement of farm system, ownership, and management. It's just frustrating. So I will get you guys an Orioles report after the White Sox series, crunch some numbers, go over some stats because there are a lot of stats. There are some good things. We did take one from the Red Sox in that series, which I thought we were going to get swept by them all year. So this is the Fett signing off for this Orioles rant AL East history lesson.